Hey folks, my guest today is Hersh Tapadia. He's the co-founder and CEO of AllStacks, the first software delivery intelligence and predictive forecasting platform helping engineering teams predict and quantify team productivity. He's led teams like this across SaaS, pharma, medical device, and supply chain, and previously was co-founder of several ventures, including Ravioli Labs, an ML-driven consulting firm, CertiRx, an anti-counterfeiting solution for supply chain, and MedCount, a medical device for infectious disease diagnostics. He's living in Raleigh and is a graduate from Duke and NC State. Hersh, you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Where did you experience this problem? Was it when you were at, Ravioli Labs or CertiRx? Where did you find this problem?
Yeah, it was everywhere actually. So I was running product engineering teams. I think the healthcare background created the exacerbated version of the problem because you have two layers of translation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look around your organization and you see marketing, sales, customer success, everybody's really instrumented, really data driven, and engineering's not. And then you have to further explain it to somebody who has maybe more of a healthcare or science background. You're going through two layers of translation without any data. And it was just always a point of frustration for me, which is like, how do I help quantify this in a way that actually helps me advocate for my teams? Why are my teams actually doing really well? What does really good look like?
Yeah.
And
for my audience listening, this is the use case of there's that annoying Trello card that has been sitting in the doing this week for the past 6 weeks. And for the business person, it looks like no momentum's happening, but everyone on the dev side knows there's a bunch of work happening. So you are able to basically get insight into that.
And then help you understand when is that actually not happening as well. So both the positive and negative outcome. We're doing all the work that we should be doing, but there's other externalities that are causing it to go off track as well. Maybe it's really a lot more complicated than it is normally. And so being able to highlight all those outcomes so then you can make a decision, right? Your business counterpart can say, hey, I understand that this is going differently than it normally does. I'm going to make different decisions now. And so one of the things we think about a lot is how do we give agency back to all your stakeholders?
Yep. No, this is great. And it helps engineers communicate progress to a sales team because the sales team is used to communicating things like quota and quota target and percent of quota hit. Yeah. So help me understand how you're breaking this down. I'm just going off the screenshot off your homepage, right? So when you say like you have a couple things, there's a progress bar, there's velocity per week, and there's scope remaining. What do you set first? Like, do you set a number of points per scope?
Yeah. So we use the data that's already being leveraged in tools like Jira, for example. So somebody's defined, call it an epic, right? Some body of work. And they've either created a bunch of tasks inside of that, or they've added story points, whatever process that they use. And then what we've done is we've looked at your historical data to say, when something like that materializes, how does it typically go from start to finish? And then we start tracking work against that. And what we do is we look for deviations from that normal. And normally it takes maybe a day to review code. This one's taking 4 days to review code. Why is that? Right? Oh, the code's really complicated. It was rewritten a bunch of times. 7 people wrote it instead of 1 person. So it's hard to review. And each one of those has a historical factor that said last time something like this happened, this thing got later and later, or it got earlier and earlier. And that gets worked into a forecasting model, this machine learning algorithm that we developed, that then predicts 3 things. When do we think it's going to get delivered? How is that date changing? And how is the change changing? So is it getting later faster? Is it getting earlier slower? Basically, what we're trying to explain to folks is, are we confident in what we're saying we're going to do? Or are we losing confidence in what we're saying we're going to do? Because that second derivative explanation is how humans make decisions with each other.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about pricing here. You're really clear on your pricing page. Everyone starts at $400 a month, but I imagine your average, like ARPU, is probably much higher than that. What's the average customer or team paying you per month?
Yeah, so it's about the size of the company, right? So how big is the technology organization? We call them contributors, right? The people that are working towards delivery. So what we look at is kind of development teams starting around 20, 30 developers and going up from there. So simple math, right? We're looking at kind of 12K, 30K, 50K are like our typical starting bands per year.
Yep. Oh, per year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's $400 per year or per month?
Per year.
Per year. Okay. I
$400
see.
per year per contributor.
I was going to say, holy crap, this gets big very quick if you got 1,000 people on one team paying $400 a month. That was a yearly price.
That was a yearly price.
I got it. All right, take me back to day one. When did you launch the business?
So we started the business. You could really call our genuine kickoff with Techstars in Austin Q1 of 2018. Okay. So Jeremy, my co-founder, and I, we've been working together since 2008, straight through 13 years now.
So were you guys nice? You just split 50-50 at the start?
Just split 50-50 at the start. It was our,
nice.
It was our fourth time working together. And we said, let's kick this off. And so we incorporated the company just before that, got into Techstars, drove down to Austin, and kicked this thing off right in January 2018.
Why Austin? Why not? I imagine there's a Techstars in Raleigh, right?
There wasn't a Techstars in Raleigh at the time, actually. The Techstars in Raleigh started a year later, and it was in partnership with MetLife. We were deciding between Austin and Boulder, actually. And we looked at ourselves and said, what are we really good at? We're really good at product, really good at engineering, technology type stuff. And so we wanted to go to a program that was shaped around go-to-market. Mm-hmm. And the MD in Austin, Amos, he's a real go-to-market guy. And that's where we felt like we would gain the most. And so we ended up going to Austin. We met our first employee there, hired him on our last day at Techstars. We got our first round of funding there with a really great partner. And we've actually have now a third of our team in Austin in conjunction with Raleigh.
Oh, that's super cool. Okay, so give me a little bit of the funding history here. So you're not bootstrapped. How much did you raise back right on day one in 2018?
So Techstars, it's the standard 100K deal. So in 2018, in total, we raised about $1 million as like our pre-seed. And then we've had subsequent rounds in 2019 and 2021 of a seed and seed two. So in all, we've raised about $8 million.
Mm-hmm. And tell me more, obviously it's a little dated now because this is back in 2018. Well, I mean, today, standard seed rounds, I mean, I've seen ones as small as 5 caps. I've seen ones as high as like 50 caps on a convertible note, like a safe. It's been all over the place. But back in 2018, what did you guys do? Like a 1-on-5 sort of deal?
Yeah, what we typically saw in the market was like a 3 to 5 cap on a seed. And we were right in the middle of that.
Yep. Okay, got it. So maybe like a 1-on-4 sort of deal. And I forget, what was the standard Techstars deal back then? How much equity was it? 7%?
It was 6%.
6. Yeah.
Yep, 6%.
Have they changed that?
I don't think it's changed at all since it started. They've been the same. They've actually been very consistent. I know YC switches around a little bit. I think Techstars have been very consistent.
Yeah. Do you compete with your friends that maybe went through or applied to YC and just to make sure that you made the right choice with the Techstars?
Yeah, it's actually cool. We had a bit of lineage there. So there was a local program in North Carolina called NC Idea, which funds equity-free grants. It's an economic development thing for startups. And we went through that program, and there was another company sitting next to us, and they went through Techstars in Austin the year before us. And then we went through Techstars in Austin on their recommendation. And then we actually share an office with a company here that went through Techstars in Austin a year later with our recommendation. So we've been able to really propagate this Raleigh-Austin pipeline.
You've seen it all. Yeah, you've seen it all. That's very cool. All right. Take me back to the first customer in 2018. Where'd you find him? Like, can you name who it was? Do you remember?
Yeah, so the very first customer was actually a small company called Farm Shots. They're a satellite imaging company. They ended up getting bought by a big agriculture company called Syngenta. And so in that time, there was a handful of these seed stage ag tech satellite imaging companies, and each one got bought by a different big ag tech. So one got bought by Monsanto, one got bought by BASF, and Farm Shots got bought by Syngenta. And they actually have been our customer ever since. They continue to be our customer.
I was going to say, so that's great for you because Syngenta probably has more engineers. That means more contributors. Yeah. That means higher ACV for you and net dollar retention.
Absolutely.
So that's the strategy, folks. You heard it here first. Go invest in companies that are small, likely to be acquired. And that is how you get into bigger teams, more seats.
we actually really believe in the land and expand motion. Our net dollar retention is 173%.
Whoa, that's really, I mean, look, I've done almost 3,200 interviews. That's, I would say, top like 5% that I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. So either you're operating off a very small base or you're killing it.
We have a phenomenal customer success team, and we have a model where what we do is we work with a small part of the org, we train them, and then we expand out to multiple parts of the org. And it gives us two Two advantages. One is we really learn how the org works and we can really make them successful, but we create layers of experts within the org. So when the next set of people come on board, they don't just have us to work with. They also have their peers who they can be really intimate with. And we work with them through Slack and Microsoft Teams and all these chat tools. So we really become an integrated part of their team. And so one of our core values is that we can always help. And what's important to that is we can always help doesn't mean it has to be just with the product. We are a resource to our customers. We try to be partners to our customers.
And how many now today? Farm Shots was number one. How many today?
We're at 45.
45. Okay, great. And tell me more about the CSM structure. Everyone structures a bit differently. How many customer success managers do you have currently?
We have 3 customer success managers.
Okay.
Each one handles about $1.5 million of quota.
Yep. Hold on. What is that quota? Is that the book of business they start with and they have to expand that against a target, or that's they have to expand the quota to over the year?
That's how much they have
to start with.
Yep. And if they expand beyond it, we might reshuffle. But what we find is that with that amount, they can provide a really tight relationship with their customers, a really healthy degree of support.
So will you say, you're setting goals right now for 2022. Will you say to one of your CSMs, hey, here's your 1.5 million book. By December of next year, 2022, our expectation is that you expand this by 100 or 70%. And if you do that, here's a commission.
Yeah, so we actually structure it slightly differently, right? So we're talking about this is how much we think they can support, because what it proxies into is like number of users, number of size, how many accounts, things like that. It allows us a really flexible delineation to say, like, here's kind of how many humans you can support. Now, when they scale the thing, part of their commission is based on how they scale the accounts and how they renew the accounts. But the other part of the commission is other objectives that help make customers successful. So we actually compensate our CSMs not just on renewals, but also on methods, techniques, programs that make customers successful that can be broadly applicable.
Give me an example of those.
So, for example, we had an initiative recently with a customer where there was a particular topic around code review that they really wanted to build like a template around. They said, we want to be able to template this into all of our teams. And so our customer success manager was responsible for building out that code review best practices program and then rolling out within their customer, but then marketing that to all customers so that any customer that was interested in that program could enable it within their org. And so the successful delivery of that program is part of the objectives. And that it gives them a non-monetary, pure customer success driven objective that really can both align the incentives, right? Because the customer success team has to be aligned to the success of the customer, right? It's in the name. And you don't want just the revenue to become combative to the success of the customer. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to incentivize them to make the customer successful and drive revenue, but not at the expense of one another.
So what portion of a CSM salary at Allstacks is basically something they have to earn? It's bonus. In other words, if I'm going to make this $100,000 there in Raleigh or Austin to be a CSM rep, what can I earn on top of that if I hit all these targets, renewals, these techniques, programs?
Yeah, it depends on the seniority of the person, but could be 20%, could be 40%, could be 50%. Okay.
So definitely really a percentage, but not like a sales rep, not where you're like going to double your base.
Yeah, you're not going to double your base. We want to compensate you appropriately so that the success of the customer is paramount, right?
Interesting. And how many humans are, to your using your word, across 45 customers, how many humans do you have across those that you have to manage with these CSM reps?
Yeah, so it's actually a really interesting question. So from the perspective of contributors, right, people generating platform data, it's over 250,000. But from the perspective of actually users of the application, we're in the kind of hundreds to about 1,000.
Okay, interesting. So call it like 800-900 today. So hold on, what's it? Because obviously you don't charge all 250,000, $400 a year, right?
Yeah. So it's based on the people who are consuming the data versus the people who are generating the data.
Oh, got it. So 250,000 consuming, 900-ish generating.
The other way. the other way. 250,000 generating, 900-ish consuming.
Okay, but what do you bill against? You don't bill against the 250,000, do you?
We don't bill against the 250,000. We bill against the addressable part of the organization. So we usually have more data than we're billing for, because the way the systems work is we acquire the data, and then the users are only working with a subset of the data. But because we're a data platform, we're incentivized to work with as broad of a footprint as
I see. What's the total team size today?
My team?
Yeah.
We're 31.
30. Okay, so you guys are growing nicely. And then look, can I do backwards math here? 45 customers at $1,000 monthly ARPU. I think this is probably too low, by the way. You guys are doing like $50,000 a month right now in revenue.
A little bit higher. We've crossed $1 million.
Congrats! 83 grand a month. That's exciting.
Yeah, we crossed $1 million at the end of Q3. We're doing about 1.5 at the end of Q4.
That's great growth.
So that'll be a 4x on the year.
Well, not just that, but in the last quarter, I mean, you've grown 33%. That's incredible. Where's that growth coming from? Is it expansion or new customer additions?
Both.
Wow. That's impressive growth. So round out the funding situation so like $1 million on a 4-ish back in 2018. And then what, you did 4.7 in 2019?
So that was rolled into the $1 million was rolled into the 4.7. So the 4.7 was the total equity.
I see. Right? I see. That was a seed. What do you call that?
We call that our seed.
Seed. Okay. And then fast forward to just, I think this year, right? You raised 4 million, 5 million?
Yeah, we call that our seed 2 of 4 million.
What the hell, Hersh? What is a seed 2? Come on.
Yeah, it's 90s A.
That's hysterical. Okay, seed 2 round. You raised the 4. Again, most people in that round are selling like 10 to 15%, maybe 20% of the business. Were you sort of in that average, or did you do something super unique?
Just straight in that average. Basically, we're from a terms perspective, we try to be as vanilla as possible, not doing anything crazy. And then we're going to go for the proper Series A in Q1.
Yep. Got it. So we're talking like sort of like a 4 on a $35-40 million valuation, that sort of range.
Mm-hmm.
Why Q1? What do you think you have to hit to do a competitive, Series A in Q1?
I think we want to have our best foot forward. We have a lot of capital in place. What we're seeing is that the market, so just to give you an example, the market is blowing up. All the analysts are writing about us. We're getting written up in Forrester and Gartner and Gigo, all those guys. Our inbound pipeline went from 0 to about 40% of our pipeline in 1 quarter. We're, coming into competitive deals and winning them. We're seeing that we don't have to educate the customer on the market and the problem anymore. They know they need something. They have budgets. They have mandates to buy. All that to say that we see receptivity to the dollars that we can spend.
Yeah.
Which in previous years, we were still building the category, building the market. Now the market's ready to receive the money, and it's time to go put some fuel on the fire.
And if you're at about $100,000 a month right now on revenue, where were you exactly a year ago?
We were about 450K ARR a year ago.
Yeah, so you're talking that would be about $36,000 a month in revenue. So 3x year-over-year growth. That's a great growth rate, man. Very, very exciting stuff. Thanks for making time for me. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
Boys in the Boat. It's not a business book, but I think it's absolutely applicable to business and team formation and team building.
Number 2, Hersh, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I shy away from celebrity CEOs. Obviously I read about them and everything. There's a couple people in town that I look at as like the pragmatic leaders that I really admire. There's Bill Spruill, runs a company called Global Data Consortium. Jason Massey runs a company called Industrial.io. Those 2 people have been mentors of mine for years and friends. And so I keep them in mind quite a bit.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool besides your own for building all stacks?
One thing that I've really gotten to enjoy of late is Figma.
Yep, that's a big one. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
6 to 8.
Okay, and situation, married, single, kids?
Married, 2 dogs, no kids.
No kiddos. How old are you, Hersh?
34.
34. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
I wish that I knew that everything was going to be totally fine.
Guys, Allstacks, there you have it. 2018 launch. They help you measure your development success, velocity, status, points, etc. They're doing about $30,000 a month a year ago. Now doing about $110,000 a month. Incredible growth rate. Just did their seed 2, raised about $4 million. They call it like a 30 to 40 million valuation. Ramping up their team 31 between Austin and Raleigh, hoping to get a proper Series A done in maybe Q1 next year. But meantime, again, 45 enterprise customers continuing to scale using the tool to measure their development teams and the attribution there. Hersh, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks, Nathan. Really nice to meet you.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.